This is ZEKİ MÜREN. First and foremost, the grammatical aside, Turkish language has only one third-person pronoun, and that's o. There's no separation for gender or status of animation, it's just o. English, however, is less civilized than this and has been distinctly calling female creatures she, male creatures he, and about everything else it. Now, in our gorgeous new digital age, we've decided that there are levels to how we perform our genders, and this decision clashed with the gender obsession of the English language, leading to people demanding certain pronouns to use when referring to themselves. ZEKİ MÜREN was one of the early deciders of this gender renaissance. He was never openly anything, but he was secretly known to have great romances with men and had many well-publicized affairs with women. He dressed like this in a time where his audience mostly consisted of people who dressed like this. With his style alone, he would be a strong queer icon in 2021. In the Turkish Republic of the 1950s, 60s, 70s, and the 80s, he became a national treasure. I cannot exaggerate this. There's no way I can fully convey what a dominant cultural item Müren is under 15 minutes. But if they ever release Chocopop's fantastic ZEKİ MÜREN documentary with English subtitles somewhere, you can learn for yourself. He churned out hit song after hit song, hit movie after hit movie, changed how live shows were made, and single-handedly carried the gazino business on his back for almost 4 decades. Why? The answer for that very massive question may be found in this one song. The song is called Me ZEKİ MÜREN in some releases and This Is Me ZEKİ MÜREN in others. It's a sort of autobiographical song, not really telling a biographic story per se, but goes into the elements of what makes ZEKİ MÜREN, written by ZEKİ MÜREN himself. Here are the lyrics.
Sevgi dolu bir dünyam var, dört yanımda tüm insanlar. Sevgi dolu bir dünyam var, dört yanımda tüm insanlar. Dünya malı neye yarar, dostluklarla yaşıyorum. Dünya malı neye yarar, dostluklarla yaşıyorum.
As we've talked about before, Turkish literature and by extension Turkish culture echoes the general Asian sentiment of gratitude as a virtue. Throughout the whole song, you'll notice that as Müren lists the achievements of his life, they all center around the sentiment of genuine gratitude and humility.
Şiirlerde, romanlarda, gelmiş geçmiş zamanlarda, tamburlarda, kemanlarda, şarkılarda yaşıyorum. Tamburlarda, kemanlarda, şarkılarda yaşıyorum.
Müren changes suffixes in this verse. Before, he was using la to indicate something being with something. Now he's using da, which indicates something being in. So Müren is living not with, but in poems and prose and kemans and tamburs and in songs. The switch is very subtle in Turkish, and he could have easily used la in this verse as well, but he was being deliberate.
Sevgilerden akışlarla, mutlu mutsuz bakışlarla, sevgilerden akışlarla, mutlu mutsuz bakışlarla, kalpten kalbe akışlarla, alkışlarla yaşıyorum. Kalpten kalbe akışlarla, alkışlarla yaşıyorum.
Now this verse is legendary. The rhyming scheme in Turkish is incredibly fluid, using the words nakış, bakış, akış, and alkış to great melodic effects. The last line, alkışlarla yaşıyorum, became so famous that people often think it's the title of the song. It also inspired a content aggregator website, which helped the line's legacy live on. Then the song moves into this climactic verse.
Şarkılara duyu seven, çilelere göğüs geren, şarkılara uyku seren, çilelere göğüs geren, dertli gönüllere giren, işte benim Zeki Müren. Dertli gönüllere giren, işte benim Zeki Müren.
The choice of words laying emotion down on songs, I presume, was made mostly to get the verse rhyming on the sound ran, leading up to ZEKİ MÜREN. But it's still a beautiful imagery. The artist suffers to produce the emotion, then lays the emotion down, thus gaining entry into the troubled hearts of the listeners. The way he says this is me, ZEKİ MÜREN, implies that this, above anything else, is what defines who ZEKİ MÜREN is. Emotion layer, tribulation bearer, woeful heart guest, and finally the spoken part.
Kimsesizlerin kimsesiziyim, kimsesizim. Yalnızların yalnızıyım, yalnızım. Dertlilerin dertlisiyim, dertliyim. Aşıkların aşkıyım, aşıkım. İsmim Mesut, göbek adım Bahtiyar. Yıllarca hep böyle bildiniz siz. Mesut Bahtiyar'dan şarkılar dinlediniz.
Almost all Turkish names mean something. It's a very common icebreaker in Turkish language conversations to ask somebody what the meaning of their name is, especially if it's uncommon. Now, Mesut is not an uncommon name, as football fans already know, but Bahtiyar is. But they also share the same meaning: happy, grateful, content. So we known ZEKİ MÜREN for years, so he was in his songs, and so he lives on. Somebody of nobodies, loner of loners, and the love of lovers. There are some exclusive nicknames in Turkish musical history. Superstar is mostly reserved for the trailblazing Ajda Pekkan. Megastar only ever refers to Tarkan. And ZEKİ MÜREN is the art son, or Sanat Güneşi. He was undoubtedly the most famous person in the country throughout the 50s, 60s, 70s, and although his health started deteriorating in the 80s, his cultural impact lived on. This song itself was released in the late 80s, just before the decade in which he stopped making frequent public appearances. That was until this one day in 1996, where he was being honored by TRT, the very public broadcasting institution that gave ZEKİ MÜREN his first break in the 1950s. They were now giving him a Lifetime Achievement Award. He received this honor live on television, exerting visible effort, thanked the TRT and the public, and then had a heart attack backstage after the broadcast was finished. So it goes. ZEKİ MÜREN's life was massively influential, so it was fitting that his death was this theatrical. There are many who think that he staged his own death, not to mean that he faked it, but he scripted it, as he knew that his health was giving out and the end was approaching, and still chose to go there and deliberately accelerate it so that it would coincide with this final great honor. Having heard what we heard in the song Ben ZEKİ MÜREN, would that be far-fetched? Because he knew he lived on in songs. He knew he was immortal, not because he was rich or powerful or famous, but because he knew he was Mesut Bahtiyar, and he knew the songs of Mesut Bahtiyar would remain in all of our hearts.
Şu anda huzurlarınızda olmak ne kadar mutluluk veriyor bana, bir bilseniz. Kelimelerle tarif edemiyorum efendim. Her şey gönlünüzce olsun diyorum. Her zaman olduğu gibi en içten sevgilerimi ve en derin hürmetlerimi sunuyorum sizlere.
See you next time.